This podcast is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Currently, you can get free delivery on all orders over £40 and 10% of all online orders by using our code of TakesThatChance10.
Jepson's there, Billy in, the goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life. Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted. Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
You're live with and it takes that chance. Can you believe we've been doing 95 episodes? Well, this is 95th episode. We've drafted in Moeen Ali today to celebrate England's fantastic cricket game winner as well. So good evening to Matt Glennon, not Nicola Glennon. So
yeah,
Matt,
I'm not allowed to control of a computer, so no, I have to go on the wife's.
How are you doing, mate? All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Just say a bit bored. You know what I mean? Just trying to keep some exercise in, try to not to eat too much, and that's it really. Just watching the games, just try to keep yourself busy.
Beautiful. Potter, you've been doing a lot of running, mate. You're social media, 5Ks and what have you. Usain Bolt's getting a bit worried, I've been hearing.
He's got nothing to worry about, trust me. I'm slower than Andy Booth in his prime here, mate. But he, like Matt Glennon says, it gets you out, doesn't it, and gives you a bit of exercise and keeps you going during these difficult times. So it's doing me good, mate, doing me good. Not my knees, but, mentally, doing me work.
Streets are wide. And Si, just because we've two unbeaten, he has to put the shirt on, showing off, don't Si? We are unbeatable.
Tonight, Kosi.
Lee Clark all over again, mate, innit? These draws. Superb.
Indeed.
Right, let's get out of business. So, Matt, normally say, Matt, I think the first thing I want to chat about, Matt, is what is it like commentating from a radio studio? It must be so weird, or is it better because you can see replays? How are you finding it, mate? Is it?
It's not. So we have to do it, obviously. You know what I mean? There's nothing else we can do. But it's not good. It's not good. The iFollow as well doesn't show the subs. So the other day, Scott High takes a shot. I didn't even know he was on the bleeding pitch. When did he come on? And next thing you see Pritchard coming on the other day. No one showing that. Replays. I think Campbell was through one-on-one the other day as well. But they showed a replay of something shite. So I didn't even see that. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? At least, you know what I mean? Me and Ogre are still there doing it. We still get plenty of debate. Still get plenty of lovely calls afterwards. And plenty of interest in what we're doing. So it's not brilliant, but at least we're watching the games and we can talk about it.
I suppose it might be something to talk about later, because obviously Lee Bromby and we're doing the commentary with Dave Sykes on Saturday.
It was brilliant, yeah.
Said, Matt, why put us in the picture? Why are the club not? Is it just because you're not at the ground? What is the reason for them not taking your commentary? Because I just don't get it.
Because local radio won't let us go. No local radio stations at any game at all, apart from the home games, obviously. And iFollow's got nothing to do with us. It's got nothing to do with the club, and that's just, I don't know. It'll be something way above my pay grade, which everything's above my pay grade at the BBC. But you know what I mean? It's something well out of our hands, because we'd rather everyone had obviously our commentary, because then we're joining in with the debate after the games, so they know all the things we've been talking about. It's just one of those crappy things in a crappy world at the minute.
I find it really strange, me, how we have. I get the difference in commentary, and not using Ogre and Matty, but the choice of people who we have doing it. We've got Dale Treforsyth. Fair enough, he works in that sort of media part of the club, doesn't he? But I don't really understand why we've got Lee Bromby on there. He plays quite an important role at the club, being in the position he's in. But for him to be a co-commentator,
was he impartial? Was he impartial?
Well, he thought he was slagging himself off in a roundabout way because he kept slagging off that we didn't have players to do the job that we wanted them to do. And I'm sat thinking, Lee, that's your job to identify these players and bring them in.
Might be talking himself into a pail.
Well, they're setting himself up to fail for me. I just think it's really strange how we've got a person who's on board of directors and, head of football operations doing I follow commentary. For me, that just doesn't make sense.
Oz, we'll come to that later. Matt, is Oggy back for Saturday, or is it still Johnny doing the game?
Oggy did this Saturday. Oggy was back. He was supposed to be doing his cycle cross. That's what he was supposed to be doing. He has his holiday and he enjoys his cycling, as we all know. And that was booked in his time off. So he just took it anyway, even though he couldn't go and watch his beloved cycling. He still went. He still took his time with his family. Listened to the games, obviously. So he was up to date. So now he's back. He's back. I was winding a few people up saying that I'd had him sacked because he'd said something to me off screen and things like that. And trying to be a diva. But for one, no one had ever believed that anyway because he'd have me sacked. And so he's back in full voice.
Si then. So let's get out of business. No wins in 7. No clean sheets in 9. We've changed commentators. We've got rid of Oggy. We've got Dave Sykes. We've got Johnny Buchan. We've got Matt. We've done it from studios. We've done it from grounds. And still, we can't get a result. So Saturday, Matt, Si, we were saying just off kind of camera and that as well, I thought we were very fortunate to get the point. And some people were arguing that we deserved a point, but I had Nathan Jones after the game. He felt they were kind of deserved all 3, and I agree with him. But again, mate, I thought we were pretty lacklustre stuff. Don't know what you thought.
Yeah, kind of share all those views, really, Kosi. Very much a point gained. I think we're fortunate to come away with something from the game. For me, it should have been cut and dry at half-time. Luton obviously missed a really good chance, literally on the stroke of 45 minutes. Cross from, I think, the right-hand side and the header, which he puts wide when it's easier to score, arguably. I think we improved a little bit in the second half. I think the introduction of Aaron's on the right-hand side this time was a positive one. Been critical of Carlos in the past for perhaps not making subs early on enough in the game, but he changed it at half time, and I think Aaron's had an impact. I know you want to mention why he didn't start, but then we get the equaliser. Probably kind of quite fortunate to do so, and then Luton nearly have a chance to kind of steal it at the end, and probably what would have been maybe a deserved 3 points. But happy to go with something. I guess kind of all focus now on Wycombe, which it's a massive game. It was a massive game before, but I think given the result that we had at Luton, it becomes even a bigger game now.
Matt, one for you. I couldn't believe this stat today. We have had, I know Matt will be loving it back at home, but we've had the most possession away from home in any team in our division. Incredible, really, to see where we are. 57.7%. Apparently Brentford then is 57. But I know you're a very big critic of David Wagner's team. I remember having a bit of a ding on with you before, but the slow build-up and what have you. And do you think we're kind of back at them days now, Matt, where it's like...
No. I don't. I think there is more purpose going forward. Definitely, 27 efforts against Bristol. Do you know what I mean? 27 efforts. On goal, and I think going forward, there's a lot more purpose. There's more of a plan to try and get it into the opposition half quicker. Where under Wagner, like I'd say, brilliant what he did. A legend, obviously. Don't want to be criticising, but I could go for a coffee. You know what I mean? And come back and Lossell, Schindler, Zanka and still be passing the ball to each other across the back line, and I'll have missed nothing. You know what I mean? But they got results. They got the 1-0s. They got to the promised land. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. But I think Carlos Corberan, he wants to build up from the back, which again can be frustrating at times especially when it's not on. But they still seem to want to do it anyway. But it's 3-4 passes. It's in the opposition's half. You know what I mean? And then they are looking to cross. They are looking to get something off. It just it breaks down too much in the final third. So, possession thing means absolutely nothing to me at all if you're not winning games. But I think the difference between Wagner possession and Carlos Corberan possession, it's definitely wants it to go forward quicker. People like Nabizar who will step into the play. You know what I mean? They'll step in and he wants to drive over the halfway line. So it's definitely different.
Pozzo, why can't we win away? It's the most weirdest thing ever. We don't have any fans in the ground or anything, but I think 30th of October when we last won away at Millwall, which were a right performance, it shouldn't make any difference, should it? But away from home, I don't know. Bristol City, obviously, Matt mentioned there, we were dominant. That was kind of a rare one, but in between this Millwall one and the other one, what is it? It's just the weirdest thing ever, isn't it? And we don't look like breaking that duck anytime soon. For me, away. It's
strange, isn't it? Because, like you say, with no fans there, it shouldn't make a difference. But I suppose psychologically it does. Because even when you look at fixtures, you look and you think, we're away, it's going to be a bit of a tougher game than what it is at home. I think you've still got your own advantages in the fact that you know the pitch a little bit better, you're in your own surroundings and stuff. So although it won't have as much a bearing with fans, you know, you should still have a slight advantage by being at home. I think just going back to what Matty was saying there about possession and stuff like that, I kind of agree with him in that we do get forward quicker. It's just when we get forward, we don't really seem to do that much with it. Bristol aside, I think we had 2 shots on target against Luton. Presumably, one more from the free kick where we ended up scoring from. I think it's okay having the style of like Naby Sarr's wanting to get on the ball and stuff like that. But for me, if they're not good enough to play that sort of football, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, teams are happy to let us have the ball and move forward up the pitch, because once we get up the pitch, we seem to run out of ideas. We look for that cross ball in. There's nothing in central for me that's good enough. There's no creativity in there. Holmes may change that, hopefully. Get on that ball on half turn and drive forward with it. Sort of a little bit like O'Brien did to back end of last season and stuff like that. But I just think we're just too easy to beat. Teams don't have to work hard to score against us at the moment, because we just give soft goals away. I can't think at the moment off the top of my head now, if you ask me, name me a goal where a team have put a really good passage of play together, or a little bit of skills unearthed us. We seem to concede the same sort of sloppy goals. It's almost like teams are happy to let the defence have the ball, because they've obviously done their analysis on us, and they're quite happy to let your Sars and your Keos have it, because trying to make that pass forward, it's not good enough, and at some point we will make a mistake, and they'll capitalise on that. I think that's the thing that needs addressing first and foremost.
Yeah, there's no point teams doing anything on the training ground to try and score past us, because just let them run past them anyway. So
exactly. Don't need to.
The goal against the 2 goals against Bristol, I know it was a dummy, and you know what I mean, Velo maybe cut out a little bit, but it was a slug's pace. It was a slug's pace from inside their half, gets all the way through to a good finish, don't get me wrong. Then the second goal, again, Naby, I blame a couple of people in that, people not talking. But again, it's one ball over the top. Thank you very much. Nice and easy. Back a goal. That's it's not hard, like you said. It's too easy. But what I have said, and obviously you all have heard this because you were listening to their own commentary at the weekend. But I don't think there should be finger pointing from anyone in that team. A striker should not be saying to Naby, you need to be doing this because you're not good enough, and that's why we're not winning. And Naby can't turn around to Fraser Campbell and say, well, you're not scoring your chances, so that's why we're not winning games. I think everyone's got to take a collective responsibility for their own positions at this moment in time. No fractions, no nothing. And everyone's got to do the job better. There's been people who had decent performances within the games, but I don't think anyone can hold their hands up and say, you know what, I've been really consistent, I've not made a mistake, I've not cost us. Because at some point, everybody's cost them a goal. Even like young Ryan Schofield, he's done really well coming in. But the goal where he was slow off his line when Verhey did that slightly under hit back pass, but Ryan seemed to be stuck in time, and the ball ends up in the back of the goal. Naby Sarr, Toffolo, all of them have contributed at times to doing it. So I think they just need to come together as a team and just try and get a solid performance in, and they'll win games.
I think the problem is, though, Sar's making them week in, week out. Sar, what were you doing on Saturday?
Too many.
Not only was his pass horrendous, like it has been for a lot of the games, but then I don't know if it was disappointment or the eagerness to try and make up for the mistake, but he just rushed out.
Well, that's what I said.
Just kind of got right around the back of it.
It's bad enough you made the mistake with the pass, but then a man of his age and his experience goes rushing in instead of just backing off, seeing the game in front of you and then trying to push the man wide or try and stop the play. He goes and dives in and gives the lad a little knock in for a ball wide. But then again, when that happens as well, and lads in the box have got to do better.
I was going to say, should Keogh have done better, Matt? Because it was
a long way from Keogh. I think Pieper or someone else, and again, that's not talking to each other, because it was nowhere near Ryan Schofield. It was too far out for him to come and get it. Someone's got to be saying, come on, You know what I mean? There's a man on your back, or people's got to be seeing that run there. The communication, and again on Saturday, I want to just talk about the communication a bit more because it seems to be nowhere near. There was a time where I think it was O'Brien kicked the ball straight out of play, went to pass it to Toffolo, or Toffolo to O'Brien, and the ball went out of play, and they both just turned around and walked off. No one said anything. You've just took the ball out of play from 5 yards from your teammate. No one said anything. It was like, what are you doing? How can you not tear a couple of strips off your teammate there? He has passed a 5 yard straight out of play, and you both. I know the mates and all that crap. I don't care if the mates or not. You know what I mean? And you just turn around and walk off. And there seems to be a little bit of letting each other off the cuff at a minute, and that's what I mean. Zara's making mistakes. Keogh has. No one says anything. Dead easy.
Because if you were to have Edmonds, Green and Klitschko at centre half like we did earlier on in the season, you could perhaps understand that. You could perhaps kind of level that at kind of kid sort of kind of inexperience. But Richard Keogh's been brought in kind of obviously had a gap at right-sided centre half with the injuries and such like. But as a figurehead, as someone experienced, played a lot of football, captain club, kind of played for his country as well, you'd expect him to be giving that kind of direction on the field, that kind of leadership, for want of a better phrase, to kind of bring the team together, really. And I agree with you to an extent. It does feel like we lack some leaders. That go back to the Wagner team, and he kind of signed, I think, 3 captains, didn't he? Heffler, Schindler and Lerver, obviously alongside Tommy Smith and Johnny Hogg. And you look at that team now, particularly when Hogg's been out of the team, and it just doesn't scream to me any leaders on there. Possibly with the exception of Keogh now, but you just want someone to kind of get them by the balls a little bit and kind of start moving around.
You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to call everyone C words and all this sort of stuff. But someone has got to be held accountable for making constant mistakes on the pitch. And when Ryan Schofield's still passing the ball out in the 6 yard box in a wet, muddy pitch, and and Keogh's still showing short for it, or Naby Zaharis or something like that, and you can see the press has been put on, and you're not going to get out with that kind of play. Someone's got to step up and go, no, lads, this is shit. We can't do this. We've got to either go long, or he's got to clip it here, clip it there. The on-field management is not good enough.
But we not level that at the coaches as well? Should Carlos, should the 2 assistants, should they not say that as well?
You've got a 36-year-old centre-half. You've got a 28-year-old centre-half. Toffolo's played a lot of football. Pieper, I'm looking at his passport. 23rd birthday last week. Yeah, good one. Yeah. Anyway, so Pieper's in there as well, played international football. John Hogg in the middle there. Carlos Corberan doesn't need to be shouting. Not that anyone's going to understand what he's saying anyway. But, you know what I mean? He does not need to be screaming that is not working, because you should be able to see that on the pitch. They've done us twice. They don't do us a third time. But they're not. They're still doing the same thing. And
do you think that comes down to...
It gives teams confidence. That's the problem. It gives the away team confidence, thinking, yeah, we've got them. Like you said a minute ago, you said, they'll know they'll make a mistake. Yeah, they will, because they'll keep doing the same things all the time. It's not working. They'll give them the ball.
I had a quick look before, and that repetitive let's play out from the back. I know we kind of focused on that because that's where errors seem to be coming from. And Sarr he lost possession 19 times on Saturday, and Keogh 11. So between our 2 centre halves who were there to play the ball out, they lost the ball 30 times. Now I don't know how many attempts that is, but I can't imagine being much more than that. So like you say, who's saying then, look, this is not working, let's change it? Sort of see a manager should be able to see that, and I know I'm going to come on to Carl's, but an on-field professional, like you say, Richard Keogh, 36-year-old, anybody, I've played Sunday League and people have gone, what? If I give ball away 19 times, bloke stood next to me wouldn't be right happy, and does that come down to confidence? The fact that everybody's making mistakes and no one's got the right to have a go at anybody else, because they'll turn around and go, well, what about you 2 minutes earlier? You give it away. So
that's what I'm saying. You've got to take personal responsibility. 19 times amazes me. It really does. I didn't notice that during the game 19 times. But I must admit, some of that can be put down to people not showing as well. You know what I mean? A lot of times he's got the ball and he's saying, is someone going to come and get the ball off me? Does anyone want this ball? So I think sometimes he's had to do the old fight ball, as I say, up to Campbell, which obviously he's going to get dominated by their centre-halves anyway. So I presume that would be classed as a missed pass.
Yeah, stuff like that as well, which doesn't obviously help. And again, that comes from a lack of confidence, doesn't it? Because if you, as a centre-half, if you receive that ball, I think it were against Stoke, or almost Keogh got it, And you could, even though you couldn't see, because obviously we can only see it on iPlayer, you'd probably be able to see it a little bit better in ground, mate. But you could tell by what Keogh did that nobody were moving, because he gets ball and he turns and you can see him look up, and all of a sudden he's like, well, I've got to do something, so I'll knock it forward 5 yards, and then I'm 5 yards in front of where I need to be. I'll try cut it back across, and it's a bad ball. And to be able to pass the ball out as a ball playing centre half, you've got to have some sort of movement in front of you. If everyone just stood still,
when you're not winning games, when you're not winning games and you're not confident, people go just hiding just a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. People aren't quite willing to get in those positions, and you got like Bakuna who just wanders into the position whenever he feels like getting into it, and that's like having a player down. So it is, yes, they should do better, but there is a reason sometimes behind the bad passing.
Matt, what are you noticing in the grounds? Obviously, away games not anymore, but
bird shit and fox shit the other day when I was doing all the seats were moving. That's what I noticed a lot of the other day, to tell you the truth. I want to just clean my trainers.
It's interesting kind of watching an IFL. I remember it was quite funny actually. We played at Watford. I think O'Brien had a go at Deeney coming a big time, so and so. But I suppose my question is to you: when you're watching it, are we a noisy team? No. Are we a team that? No. What is the team out there?
That's not just Huddersfield Town. Both teams. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I listen to a lot of podcasts yourselves and other ones as well. A lot of ex-players and things, and a lot that said now. You know what I mean? The communication, which I talk about a lot. The noise that they're talking to each other. You know what I mean? I'm sure if they could all take their iPhones on the pitch, they'd text each other what they felt. You know what I mean? Well, or WhatsApp or whatever else they use these days. But just that talking to each other just seems to be just dying out the game. Once Jonathan Hogg disappears in a couple of years, you're really worrying. Ryan Schofield's very vocal, which is good, but you're worrying who's going to be the next talker, the next organiser, who's going to walk into that changing room and really have something positive or anything to say to his teammates.
I think the worrying thing for me is I don't think we've seen a complete performance from Huddersfield Town this season, a 90-minute performance. And I don't think we're looking like we're getting anywhere nearly getting it again. We seem to have, when we've won us games, we've had a good burst for half a game or 60 minutes even. But I think it does worry me a little bit that we're in the middle of February and we've not.
Because you watch a lot of football all over the world. How many times you watch a game and go, God, that team was dominant for 90 minutes. You don't often get it. If you get 60 minutes of a game and you don't dominate in that 60 minutes, then you've done your job and you come away with performance. Unfortunately, Town did it for 60 minutes against Bristol, didn't come away with the result that they probably deserved. But I don't think anyone really, you know what I mean, dominates a full 90 minutes of a game. Not when you're in the same division, you know, in FA Cup, Premier League versus bloody, you know what I mean, League Two maybe. But I don't think when you're in the same division, you're going to dominate a full game.
I'd like to see a bit more kind of complete performance. I think another thing that kind of worries me is you'd have thought these mistakes would be ironed out by now. And
like 28 you would.
I suppose let's get to the first big debate of the night. Really, Naby Sarr, is it time for him to sit down and watch the game?
I think when Schindler's fit, he might find himself, or Stearman's fully fit. He might say leave him out a couple of games. And for me, Naby Sarr, if minus the mistakes, he's playing in the low bottom of the Premier League, or he's a top-end Championship player because he's 6'5", he's got pace, he can play, you know what I mean, he can tackle, he can score goals, but he messes up too often. And it's not every 10 games, it's every 3 or 4. There's a big rick in him. You know what I mean? So I think for all his attributes, I think he will find himself watching a bit of football when the other centre-halves are fit.
Hozza, would you make the call Saturday? Because it's a bit, I've watched the Wednesday Wycombe first half and obviously the big man Akinfenwa's up there, and would you want to stick Critchlow in there? And I think Saturday might be a game too early, but really, it'd surely be benched now, only if we had any of those centre halves fit. Because how many more mistakes can we afford?
Well, you sent out on this little agenda that we have because is he an asset or a liability? And I've just made a note that up front is probably an asset, but in defence is probably a liability at the minute. So, you know, if he's being bombed out from centre half, let's put him up front because he seems more effective at that end of the pitch. But I think he's been, you know, when you've got limitations as a player and you're being asked to play a style of football that's probably, you know, towards that end of your spectrum of your limitation rather than your strength, you've got to have mentally you've got to be always sort of thinking, I've been asked to do something that I'm not really comfortable in doing. And that's the sort of impression that I get with Sarr. As you said, he's a big lad. You know, a game against somebody like Akinfenwa for Wycombe, if he's just told to mark him and, you know, jostle him and win headers against him and win tackles against him, he'll probably have a really good game. I think the problem with Sarr is that he's not good enough at job he's been asked to do. And
he was brought in as a footballing centre half, though. That's why he was brought in. That was
but if he's still not good enough, he's just. I know he was brought in for that, but if he's not good enough, not good enough, is he? You know, you could bring me as a barber, Matt, but I'd be no good. Do you know what I mean? As you can probably tell from lockdown here. But you know, in some respects, if he's not comfortable in playing that style of football, he's going to make mistakes, and Carlos is almost in a way setting him up to fail. I appreciate he's probably got no one else available to play in there, but
would you know, footballing mistakes though, when he's letting his manner off his back, when he's tripping over the ball, when he's giving 5-yard passes, he's a championship footballer.
Yeah, the basic stuff.
Go back to you. I put you on the pitch. I'd expect you to hit a 5-yard pass to your teammate.
I was a great centre half, me, Matt. Don't worry about that.
If you're opposition though, Matt, you're right. If you're opposition though, you're going to press. You're going to think, brilliant, Naby Sarr's playing today, and I've got a right chance of getting a freebie or mistake here and stuff.
But that's where the coach should recognise that fact of maybe, I've got limited options at the minute. So Naby Sarr plays, and you know what? You do something else where you play. You recognise that they're going to double up on Naby Sarr. They're going to press on him. So that's where Ryan Schofield goes a little bit longer into midfield, plays off his left back, his right back, or something else, and uses different tactics, different games, and and protect him. It sounds bad to protect a 6'5", 28-year-old lad like who's been playing for a long time, but maybe it's time to not aim for Naby Sarr all the time. Maybe it's time to, try something different.
Does that worry you, Matt? Carlos doesn't seem to be. We've had it before. It's like be better at your plan A rather than having a plan B. But does that worry you, especially now we've got in the horrible pictures that we're seeing with the bad weather that we're having? Does that worry you that we just keep doing the same things, not really trying anything different? And
always worries me.
That's the way it is.
Always worries me when a team are reluctant, like when there was a free kick at the weekend. I think it was this weekend. They're all muddling into one, but Naby Sarr's wanting to take the free kick. And it's like, what are you doing? We're 3 minutes into 4 minutes added on. Ryan Schofield's going to take the free kick to put it into the box, and you're stood next to him. You're a foot taller than everyone else on the pitch, and you stood next to him. Get your ass in the 18-yard box. You know what I mean? Get forward. Try and get a knockdown. Anything. You don't have to knock it 5 yards for him to lump it in there. He should be in there, and he's third top goal scorer, so he should be in the 18-yard box anyway.
Some people have been tweeting in, and I don't think they're joking, saying they should just play him up front and bring Critchlow centre half.
That would be horrendous. That would be horrendous.
Si,
great for my show, but it'd be horrendous.
We've got to mention him again, mate. He crops up every week, but Juninho Bacuna, he'll say assisted the goal, but come on, the keeper with the assist. What were they doing? And I think that just, again, it's just the selfish individuality of the player. It was ridiculous with that. There were 3 men in the box, whether Campbell had scored, another matter. But mate, put it in the box. Look for your teammates. I'd have probably headbutted him, mate. I'd have been screwed.
Selfish.
That just shows where his agenda is. It's not with his teammates. As long as he's all right.
He thinks he's got a right because he's beaten 2 or 3 players and he's done a little trick and everything else. I've got the right now to hit this with my wrong foot, left foot, off balance, 18 yards out. It's like you're saying, instead of slipping my teammate in. And he frustrates me, but he's like what you talked about as in Huddersfield, can't put a complete performance together. Sometimes Bacuna does amazing things and brilliant things, but too often he's wandering about doing his own thing. And like you say, he thinks he deserves to score his goal if he's the one who
gets picked every week. He's always on the team sheet. It's ridiculous.
He's out of contract end of the season.
Yeah, but he's always guaranteed a shirt. I think that's half of the problem with a lot of these guys at the moment. There's no pressure on them, is there? I mean, it's like Bacuna can do what he wants and he knows he's going to get picked. It's just rubbish, though, and that as well. And
there is pressure because they're out of contract at the end of the season. You know what I mean? You can't think they'll be on decent money because they're in the Premier League. Yes, they got the pay cuts and everything, but they're on decent money. If you don't pull your socks up, I hate to say it, like Benzer has because he's at the end of his contract as well, you are going to find yourself scratching round for a team that ain't going to pay the money that you're on at Huddersfield right now. You know, and you could end up anywhere. So, yeah, there is pressure on him. That's the thing. There's always pressure on you when new managers, new coaches, and your contracts at the end of the season. So I don't understand why you wouldn't put everything you've got into your performance.
I think for me, Bacuna arrived as a player with lots of potential and quite inexperienced coming over from Holland. And he's never really lived up to that. He's never reached a level and found some consistency that you feel as though he could string 10, 15, 20 games together and be kind of the focal point of that team. And to your point, Kosi kind of, for me, Sack's performance summed him up. And I know we mentioned at the start, but I think what was quite interesting was kind of some of Lee's comments on commentary around Bacuna and kind of his wrong choices. And perhaps a little insight into kind of how the club thought about him at the moment as well. And share your view, Matt, that I think we've got an option on his contract, haven't we, if he wanted to, but I can't see him being at Huddersfield Town next season. I think it'll be
he's someone's money they could use somewhere else. It'll be a wage they can use to bring in another player who's going to be more of a team player. It's great to have a Maverick now and again, but your Maverick's got to score you 15 goals a season, and he's got to set up 10 goals as well. And you know what I mean? Your Eric Cantona's and your people like that would stroll around, collars up, and that. But he'd also score the winner. Then he'd roll his teammate in. Then he'd do something else, and everyone loved him. And he didn't just, well, I was going to say he didn't kick everyone, but we all know he kicked one person. It's like the thing when someone fouls him, he runs over and tries to kick him. You know what I mean? For one, you get booked, you get sent off, but then they get possession back. Just because someone's kicked you doesn't mean you've got the right to go and kick them back. And if you are going to kick them, don't kick them in front of the referee. You know what I mean? Do it a little bit cleverer than that. You know what I mean? There's ways of getting around and giving someone a little bit of pain without being so obvious. It just the selfishness sometimes just it frustrates me.
It reminds me like a petulant child.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
The thing is, pause. I thought when Cowley came in, remember we had that horrendous start, and he got tuned out. And he was pivotal when we got lift off start of last season. It took us forever, didn't it? October, didn't it? But I thought this is it. He's finally building a team around him. Cowley's showing faith in him, but he's just reverted to types afterwards on that as well. And
so much like hard work.
It'll be interesting to see how he goes on. You know, it's when he leaves Huddersfield Town. But I thought Saturday just summed his Huddersfield Town career up pretty much with that chance.
When you've got Ronaldo Aarons, who's just come in now, who's hardly played any football, running past him constantly, wanting to get the ball, wanting to get on it, wanting to run past people, wanting to get stuck in there, you know, and not taking any shit, but doing it in a professional way where he's not retaliating on people. You know what I mean? He should be slightly embarrassed. I mean, this lad's not even played that much football, but he's come in and he's, you know what I'm saying, he's working hard, he's running, he's backwards, he's forwards, he's got a trick in him, he's doing everything. And, you know, he's been in the Premier League with Newcastle and things like that. And you should be looking and think, God, they haven't done half the work. And when the stats go on the wall, because don't forget, they all know how much they run in that game. You know, I mean, I'd be embarrassed.
Aarons, I think, to me, when our best player on Saturday, and he only played 45 minutes, I'd have started with him, to be honest. I'm not just saying it because of what happened, but I thought he was a better player. And Ben's had a shocker. He looked like he was half cut. He'd been out on Friday night. He's
having a dip. He's having a dip. He's done well this year. I've enjoyed him, Benz, this year. His free kicks, his work ethic. Again, being cynical, is it because his contract's up at the end of the season? But I don't care if it is. I don't care. But he has done well. He's just having a little bit of a blip at the minute, and it's coincided with minus temperatures. He's got his hands in his sleeves, and he's like, oh my God, I'm going to get myself off this pitch. Play shit, and that's how you get yourself off.
I think you said it, Si. He played on the right, and I think the really good thing when he cut in, defenders don't like that, do they? And I thought it'd be something I'd be tempted to experiment with. What kind
of chicken said it the other day. The chicken mentioned it in the Examiner, and it's like get them both just cutting in because we don't score goals. So get your wingers cutting in and getting chances, getting shots. Fraser Campbell then can follow up on the goalkeeper, that kind of stuff. And I thought he had made a really good point with that.
I like Aaron's attitude, and he got brought off, I think, against.
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
And he was spewing, and I like to see that, Matt, because
in the right way.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is, obviously, he's missed a lot of football, hasn't he, for so many year or two. So he's desperate to play. But for me, I think if we're going to create anything at the moment, Ronaldo Aarons, if I could say it right, is the man. And just looking at kind of Wickham's fullbacks on tonight, it's like I think we can have a good afternoon. But let's come on to the other problem that we've got on Saturday now, because I've changed my mind on Harry Toffolo's sending off. Matt, you'll probably disagree, but at the time I thought, wow, this looks so harsh. But I've watched it a few times. I think it's a red. And
it is a red. All day. Red all day.
I'm not feeling it, are we? I think they wasted time, isn't it?
Second touch of tackle. It's the thing that he's made a bad first touch, bad second touch, and then he's gone in. He's not a nasty person. He's not someone who will go and try and snap someone. I do think he probably was a little bit off balance, but it doesn't matter. You've nearly done someone's leg in. You know what I mean? He's caught above the ankle, and he's caught him. You know, not with great pressure. I'm sure the lad was fine afterwards. But yeah, it's a red card. It's just one of them unfortunate things. You take a bad touch.
I was sort of over way. I thought when I first saw it, it was like, oh, that's harsh. But then when you see he sort of his foot goes, done it, and does that then lift his foot up. You know, you compare that one to the one from Stoke against Town, and although it's kind of chalk and cheese in the way that they came out, Toffolo sort of slips into it, whereas their guy, came in full thunder. The foot is in the same position, innit? It's above the ball, it's on the ankle. Yeah. Letter of the law, it's a red card, and it's a big miss. It'll be a big miss if it's 3 out. Who do we bring in? Is Jaden Brown ready? If not, do we shuffle it up and maybe look at 3 centre halves? It's quite an interesting conundrum to see what's happening.
It's a huge miss because it's such a must-win game on Saturday. I mean, I think you don't want to miss him anytime, Ali Toffolo, but I think
Naby's the pressure's on that middle. Yeah, get Naby's out the middle. It's going to be interesting to see what he does though.
Yeah, because Jaden Brown won ill or something on Saturday or something. He won kind of right.
I think, Kosi.
You what, mate?
Concussion, I think. He took a knock to the head in the B-team game against Salford, so concussion protocol meant he was missing. So I'd assume on that basis he'll be back. But I guess we'll wait and see. Just for me, it kind of just going back to the Naby side bit, I think I would leave him in for this game for the reason that if you've got to have Jaden Brown or an inexperienced left back, to then have an inexperienced left-sided centre half, I think could even compound the situation. So Naby side gets another go for me against Wickham, but almost I think I'll be changing my mind.
Just tell him not to pass. That'll be fine.
I think the frustrating thing is for me is that these experienced guys have been brought into because Critchlow couldn't be trusted because they're not experienced enough. But yet the experienced guys like Keogh and Sarr have let them down.
Keogh's only chucked a couple of bad passes away. He got caught the other day. Sarr gives the penalty away. Naby's out when he gives the ball away. I think for someone who's just come straight in the team, Keogh's he's not done bad, to be fair. He wasn't I wasn't a big fan when he came the first time when I played when he was there. He was a pain in the ass.
You were there when he played.
What?
You were there, weren't you, when he?
Yeah. I played 10 games. He was a nightmare. He was a nightmare. He was full enthusiasm, wanted to win, brilliant attitude, but he just wanted to do everything. I'd shout keepers, he'd head it away, would try and pass back to me, put it on my left. Oh, he was a nightmare. But you could see he had a will to win, and you could see he had that drive in him. But I don't think he's done too bad, apart from the couple of passes the other day, which obviously he got caught with when the second phase in the penalty. I don't think he's done bad. I don't think he's done bad at all.
Well, we'll put that Luton game to bed because I suppose the only positive on Saturday we weren't there because what a place that is, Kenilworth Road, isn't it?
I hate it. It's weird.
Just before we move on though, because the thing that annoyed me is afterwards Keogh he's making a comment of the buzzing. That's the word that he used, buzzing to get a point at Luton after that performance. And yeah, I can see why, because I didn't play the greatest, so a point in the back pocket. But you don't want to hear I'm buzzing with the point at Luton as a fan. What you want to hear is, you know what, we're really disappointed to come away with a point here because we don't think we've played well. I get there's putting a positive spin on it and all that, what you've got to, like they tell them to do these days, which we've mentioned before about players saying stuff. But there's a fan, he sat there thinking, we've played crap, we've had 2 shots. All right, yeah, we've got away with a point, but don't tell me that you're buzzing with that. Tell me that, we've snuck away, we sneaked a point here, we've not played well.
Yeah.
We've come away with a point, and, we'll put it to bed. But to come away with buzzing with a point from Luton away after being in Premier League, I know you can't say about being in Premier League all the time, but is that how far we've dropped, that we're buzzing at a point at Luton away?
Well, look, I know he's a young lad, but I think it was Edmonds Green, was after the FA Cup game, when he was...
he was on top at Wales, wasn't he?
He scored his goal, it was a great personal achievement, he was fantastic and everything. He's been beat 3-2 by Plymouth, who were minging in League One. So, yeah... So I thought that's probably not as bad as it's worse than what Keogh said. He's a young lad, but yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you can't be high as a kite after a 1-1 draw against Luton when
you can be positive but be honest. Look, we've played crap, but we're going to look on bright side. We've got a point. That's all it needs, isn't it? As a fan,
they had a much improved side from last season. He's done a good job. I mean, Tom Ince. I know he dropped how the mighty has fallen, what have you, but the fact that he wants to come there and can get a player in like that, really good. That Dewsbury Hall guy, to say he's named after this beautiful town 2 miles from my flat is he always does a job. I just love to get him at town just for to have Jules back on my ship.
That's a subject all in itself. I don't know if we'll come into that later on, but
no. But so I mean, Fraser Campbell pretty much again anonymous on Saturday, which brings us. I were hoping we'd have a bit of news today about a signing. It sounds like it's pretty much done from what everyone's been saying, but it's not.
Who's this Campbell / Dare Carvey signing?
What is it? Uma Nyase, is it? Pause.
13.5 million.
I've been looking up on him now. 30 years old, 16.1 million. He moved to Everton from Lokomotiv Moscow. He's
13.5.
He's been at Hull and Cardiff on loan, but he's not played a game since 21st of January, kind of last year. So he's been a year without any football. Plus more Senegalese. He came on as a sub for 2 minutes. For Everton at Newcastle, but
the thing is with this lad, you know what I mean. I've done my bits on him as well. Ancelotti played him. I think Koeman didn't like him, and you read like obviously the Chicken's done his research as well, and then you look at other stuff that he's done. He scares me because his work rate seems like Campbell, but his finishing seems like Derek Harvey. So he's got this mixture that inspires me, but scares the shit out of me at the same time. But I think
to see why he's not got a club, innit?
He's someone who does. He's going to need a lot of love. He's going to need a lot of love, but he's a big lad. He's a target man. Apparently, you know what I mean. Fans love him because of his honesty and his work rate. But that's Fraser Campbell. You know what I mean. He works hard. He does everything you want, but he can finish. And that's the same. This lad seems very much of the same. But I don't know. He might be he might come here and re-inspire that form. Why Everton paid 13.5 million for him? You know what I mean. You never know. We do, but you never know.
Because it's been a massive, obviously, argument for weeks now about getting a striker. We need a striker, 5 strikers. But the only thing I'd counter with is we're not creating hardly out anymore. We're not, okay, Bristol City, okay.
So no one's making the runs, Kosi. What's the point of putting the ball there?
Yeah, there's not. But as a temperature gauge, people are not feeling it. What I've been speaking to, I think a lot of people are just looking. He's not at a club for a year. Typical signing, but if you signed for 16 million, well, surely he must have been decent at some point.
Well, yeah, it must have been. But look at Diakabi. We did want to pay 11 for him, so the money doesn't always reflect the ability. But it's interesting because everyone's moaned about strikers, and no more so than us on here. But when you look at the issues in the team at the minute, it's only Wickham who've conceded more goals than Town this season, and only by 6. So that could quite easily change on Saturday. So to me, yeah, all right, we don't score enough goals, but we've let a hell of a lot in. And to me, if we can I know it's a little bit boring, and going back to maybe dare I say Danny Cowley sort of style of football. But I know we're going to talk about Carlos, so this might link us nicely into that. But does he need to have a look at his style of play and stop playing this? Well, I say new style of football because over the last few weeks we've not really had that. I don't want to sit here and slag him off that much because he's only had half a season. I think he's been dealt a really bad hand with injuries. I don't think he's got the players that he needs to play this style of football. I don't think he's probably been backed as much as he would have liked, and that that's a different story altogether. But I remember when we first started this season and we'd lost a couple of games, and fans seemed to be a little bit more accepting of that because we were playing a more adventurous style of football. We were the games were a little bit more exciting. We were getting forward. That style now seems to have disappeared for me. We're trying to play that style of football, but it's nowhere near as effective. And a decent manager can make changes. All right, this might be plan A. This is my style. Actually, the resources that I've got available to me at the moment don't allow me to do that. So what I'm going to do as a coach is I'm going to take a step back from my style and I'm going to play a little bit different. I'm going to be a little bit more inventive. I think I mentioned it previously on here about Carlos, that he's done a lot of under-21s, under-23 football. And in that sort of football, right, they might have league tables and stuff like that, but it doesn't actually matter. So if you want to embed that style of football into your football club, you can play that style of football in under-23s 50, 60, 70 times a season. And if you lose 55 out of 60, nobody cares because the idea is to get that style embedded. Well, we're not in under-23 football anymore. We're in first-team football, and results are the most important thing. And we're losing a lot of games, or not picking up wins as well, because of the style, in my opinion, and Carlos's stubbornness. And for me, this needs to be this start of this year should be a massive learning curve for him. And what happens from now to end of the season, to me, will, I won't say dictate his managerial career, but when you look at managers, you look at win percentages, and that is the main thing. It's all right developing players and looking to develop a style and all that, but if you're not winning and your team's slipping down table and even down leagues, dare I say it, your career is going to be over before it's even.
If you do get the right man up front, and you are scoring goals and spending more time in the opposition's half because you've got the right person up there scoring the goals, creating the chances, holding the ball up, doing more than right now, then you know what I mean? Then you don't have as much pressure on that back line. And I think the fact that they don't score goals, the fact that teams are running at them too often and too easy, I think it's Naby's hours making mistakes, back four, you know what I mean? Things. I just think if the players were doing the job more going forward, like you talked earlier on about Lewis O'Brien turning and running at teams, when he does that, brilliant, because he drives the team forward, everyone goes forward, and it's brilliant. He's done it about 3 times in about 6-7 games. And when he does it, it looks fantastic. We don't do it enough. You know what I mean? John Hogg's not going to do that. You know what I mean? He does his job, what he does and does his job very well. But you want your Bakunas, same again. You want Lewis O'Brien, your IT when he was playing, they've got to be driving the team forward. Then you need that person at the front who's going to either score or at least hit the target or do something. And I just think his style then, you know what I mean, would work a lot better than it does. I just feel there's just too much emphasis on the back because of the front as well.
I think though, it's like the style though, isn't it? If you're not creating the chances to enable to score playing your style, change your style. You know, to me, you know, there's that old saying, isn't it?
27 chance against Bristol.
Yeah, that's an anomaly though, man. Look back over games and we're not creating anywhere near that. And out of those against Bristol, how many were clear cut? Keeper's made a fantastic save. All right, we post a couple of times and stuff like that. But it's all right creating 27 chances, but actually, if none of them are actually that threatening, you know, it's no good. I mean, to me, you know, it goes back to that old saying, doesn't it? You know, you can only shag with a cock you're given, so you make the most of it, and that's what Carlos needs to start doing. He needs to make. But yeah. Sorry, for if anyone's listening to this, but you've got to make the best of what you've got. And for me, he don't do that. He's so stubborn in his ways.
I'll tell you what was interesting though, Matt. I saw a quote from Jonathan Woodgate, who was at Bournemouth, and he was brought in at Middlesbrough to bring in the youth and the player style. And he quoted after the game on Saturday says you can talk about style and substance all you want, but if you don't start to win games, you won't be in a job for long. I thought that was fascinating for him to say that, considering his remit at Middlesbrough were more like bring the youth, but obviously results took a turn, out he went. Yeah. So I suppose the question is, with 7 we out feet, other teams are kind of catching up the gaps now, only 5 points from the bottom 3. This game Saturday is huge, but Carlos seems to be so stubborn. But
you get 3 games, not got to win in 3 more games. You're talking 10, into double figures without a win. Telling you, there will be questions asked. That phoning after the game will be very different than it is now. A lot of people still very supportive, still in the give time. But if that gap goes down to 2-3 points, the DL. You know what I mean? Luckily, Sam's got a job at the minute, so he won't be walking through the door. But it could be a firebrand manager coming in to stop them sinking into League One.
The pressure's on, mate. I mean, Wednesday have won this game, so they're 6 behind. There's still a good gap, but 5.
Yeah, they've had 6 off as well. Don't forget, so they would actually be level.
5 between us and Birmingham, but it is. It's a bit of a worry. I think most of the fans are still kind of backing, but I just think Saturday's one of those games we don't care. I think Stephen Chicken kind of said it'd be nice to win with some flair or what have you, but
just win.
Just win. To win, don't we? Win.
Yeah. He has got to be careful. You know what I mean? The Cowleys are still available, so you know what I mean. Might bring them back in again to keep them in the division before they get ready again. But in all seriousness, he has. If they keep slipping and slipping, Phil can't afford this club to drop into League One. No one could afford this moment in time for to drop in League One, and it'd be an absolute disaster from where they were 5 weeks ago to be even talking about this.
Yeah, we should be.
Interesting, isn't it? If we win against Wycombe, then we could be as high as 12th or 13th, and suddenly you're kind of starting to look up the table again, and it all doesn't seem too bad. The Championship is such a unique.
What
it's different compared to the Premier League.
6 points from 10th, is it something like that?
Yeah, guessing so, something like that. You kind of 2 or 3 wins on the bounce, and suddenly it's a very different picture. I think, to your point, Kosi, I think the fans, by and large, are with Carlos at the moment. I don't think he's without his faults, as we've kind of spoken about, but I think, by and large, the fans felt he's been dealt a bit of a tough ride with injuries, kind of perhaps not bringing in the people he wanted to. But I think you're very right. Same at 3 games time, particularly with Wycombe in the next one. If we haven't picked up some more points, I think, kind of a lot more.
I don't think
questions will be asked.
I don't think it's just results, but there's a growing disconnect. Again, we've talked about it before with the club, and and the board and the fans and stuff like that as well. I saw, again, a couple of tweets kind of the other day where Mark Devlin were kind of prodded, and no, not in a bad way, were kind of, Mark, you want some of the season cards, you need to come out to speak to people not earning from the club. We were like, it were almost kind of, there's going to be an article about the transfer window coming up soon. And I'm thinking, well, that's...
there is a lot of quiet. I was going to say, you know what I mean, I'm not really one for going after chairmans and clubs and all that sort of stuff, because it's not really my job to do that. But there doesn't seem much in the way of communication at all at this moment in time. You know, I'm not seeing much from the chairman, this Mark Devlin. I'm not seeing much from him. You know what I mean? No one, Lee Brombury, apart from the fact he, you know what I mean, tried to steal my job at the weekend. You know what I mean? Not really seeing any thought of, you know, I mean, they don't have to come out. As I said, I've told you before, I don't agree that they come out and tell you everything financial. I don't agree with that. That's, you know, I mean, their decision to go on with that. But I do think more needs to be coming out about, well, just future of the club, like you said, season cards, what's going on. It's just all about fluffy stuff at the minute, and it gets a bit tedious.
It does. It's like,
you know what though, none of that fluffy stuff backed up with any substance. They had all this fluffy stuff when Carlos came in about what they were going to do and all that. You know, you've got to put your money where your mouth is sometimes. And, you know, as Kosi says, the disconnect from people that I speak to. You know, all right, yes, I'll openly admit some of them are pretty hot-headed and 1 minute, you know, they're bipolar sometimes with their opinion on Huddersfield Town, but they've been going for 30 odd years. You know, like many other fans. And you read in Twitter, and so many people now are having that disconnect. I get we can't go, so obviously that's your natural connection, just disappeared straight away. But the club don't be able to, and I've said this a few times, they don't be able to sort of read the room, and they don't sort of seem to look through the social media and see what people are saying and do something about it. I've seen fans from other clubs saying that, you know, they've had random phone calls from chairman just to see how they're getting on and have a chat. And, you know, something like that goes a long, long way in football, you know, just to show that they actually care about you. And we don't seem to have
the chairman read Twitter once, it didn't go very well.
Probably not worth ringing up at Town fans, because just probably get a load of slather.
I know what you mean, though. A lot of clubs are communicating with fans, just that ringing up. You know, I mean, Ancelotti ringing a fan the other day on TV, just all different people doing things. And
Sean Jarvis did a Big House Q&A a bit ago, but he's massive. He was the mediator between the fans and the club. He took a lot of shit as well.
He was good at that. Yeah.
He were answering stuff he should never have done, but he was brilliant. And Dean, you know, okay, there's a lot being said at the moment, but Dean just seemed to have that great knack when there were, you know, trouble at the mill. He always called a canal side Q&A. He always
just calm it down.
Always knew where it really worried me with that, you know, kind of Devlin coming out. We're almost like, oh yeah, we'll get something out. It's like, hang on a minute, mate. If you've got your finger on the pulse with your public, your customers, I know people won't want to hear it like that, but you should know. And it's like, I think the club are going for this real shock, because I don't think it's just football related, Matt. They just probably think, well, we'll get back in the ground, everyone's going to pile back in. I'll tell you what, I know people like used to put money in boxes and sponsorship stuff, and they really dislike Huddersfield Town at the moment, and it really worries me, because I don't want it to go back.
Connecting with the fans is massive, and someone's head's going to roll soon, because, as you say, you're not the only one saying it. Loads of people are saying it. I speak to a lot as well, not so much at the minute, 'cause I'm not going anywhere. But you know, I mean, when we're speaking to fans and people, and it's important to have that connection with your club, and somebody has got to get a grip and start speaking some sense, because, you know, when people will just go ding, switch off, and all the advertising that's on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff that you get for all your clicks and all your kit sales and all that shit, they'll disappear, because people are fed up at the minute. I'm fed up. I mean, all the time. My highlight is this: I was going to put a shirt and tie on tonight, because it's like I'm the you know what I mean? And I get to go to the game, but I want to read something different. I want to see something different. I don't want to just see the coronavirus stuff. I don't want to just see that all day, because my business, you know what I mean, is closed. All the ones I've got, you know what I mean? And it's not a great time. So it's nice to read something or see something and have something else to focus on. It's like Boody's doing these like lunchtime things, whatever the thing he's doing. And I did one with him the other day a little bit when we did that charity event, and it was great. But you want to hear something. We can't keep talking about the same stuff all the time. You need a little bit of something from the club, just so the fans can grab hold of it and say, yeah, that's where we're going to be in a couple of months' time when all this shit's over.
There's so many people, though, that are really good, like with things on Pulse. You've got someone like Robin Kennedy who's done a great job out. I kind of chatted the other day about stuff, and she did a lovely article about a young lad with, you know, kind of with hearing difficulties and stuff. And I think there's nice stuff like that coming out, but it worries me that, I don't know, I just think good leaders know when there's an issue, and you can say what you want about some of the politicians and stuff, but I just think people, when the chips are down, they stand out to be counted. And Phil did a Q&A, didn't he, with you? And I can't remember that when that 5 strikers thing come out and that as well. But
5 strikers,
anything. It kind of brings me nicely on kind of my next thing, really, and that as well, because I want to chat about it as well, because every other day, every other game, we seem to be waking up to stories about people being racially abused on Twitter, people being abused on Twitter. Started with that Karen Carney with Leeds and their tweet, and then we've got kind of racist comments every other week and that as well. And it's absolutely disgusting, and I'm absolutely sick of it. Like,
you've got to be made accountable. Every account you make, you've got to be accountable for it. You've got to put some sort of ID in there. But they don't want to do it.
You must get some stick, maybe not as bad as some of these horrendous racist stuff, but you must get some stuff, coming from...
Well, tonight about my haircut, I know that. Once we've done that, gone from bald to a full head of thick lush hair. But yeah, we do. You get all the time. It was back in the day with the like down at the map thing, and other clubs I've been at. And it hurts. I remember a little story. This is brilliant. It's not really in game, but walking down to the training ground at Carlisle, a lad called Danny Livesey, centre half, good centre half, had a good career. You know what I mean? Lower league football. He comes up, he goes, "Oh, Matt." So I was on that forum last night. This is like 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago. So right, he says, the headline said, "Congratulations, Danny Livesey." He said, so I clicked on it. "You are the worst fucking player to play for Carlisle ever." But he was gutted. Yeah. You could see his face. I'm red. I'm laughing my head off, because you've got to take these things with a pinch of salt. That's fine. But now we're getting into the racial stuff. We're getting into real vile stuff. I was listening to someone today as well, and it was Mark Halsey, the referee today on Sky Sports. Obviously, he's had cancer. I know Mark. I spent some time with Mark back in the day and stuff, and his wife's had cancer as well. Getting abused online, saying, "Oh, his daughter dies of cancer." And it's just absolutely atrocious. And it's only the platforms are going to do it. These people aren't real people. They're just little numpties in the bedroom, you know what I mean, making what they're doing. Sometimes it's older fellas as well. It's hard. And you shouldn't have to come off a platform because you're going to get abused every time you come on. You know what I mean? We get stick now, or you get stick, we get stick. But
the players look at players look at it's obvious that the young players, and especially the Instagram and stuff, they I don't know about you, but I suppose it's hard for me to say, but if I were a player and strangers were like, it wouldn't mean any kind of thing to me, because I thought
it shouldn't do. But you've got, it's hard though. It's hard because some people do. It's like some lads get upset when they get a 5 in the paper. I used to batter Mel Booth, the bastard. You know what I mean? You give me a 5, you don't fucking Mel. You had a 5, had a worldie. You know what I mean? And stuff. But some people can. Some people take a pinch of salt. As I say, I get some good stick. I get some funny stuff as well on there. I get called all different kinds of names on the pitch as well. You have to have a thick skin because you've got 20,000 people screaming at you. Then you've got all the fans having a go. And when you've had a bad day, go home, get yourself a glass of red, sit, watch the TV, turn your phone off. You shouldn't have to do it, but that's the world we live in, and they get trained on that now. But as I say, for me, it's the companies, your Twitters, your Instagrams. They've got to get hold of these people because it's getting worse, and it's turning the world, especially where we are now. It's turning the world a very nasty, nasty place. And
I think there's like that sort of. Don't get me wrong. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll probably see ranting and stuff like that. But I always use that rule of thumb. Obviously, I would never say something to somebody on social media that I wouldn't say to the face. And I think if you live by that sort of ruling, you'll probably do all right. And it's absolutely fine to criticise people if they've had a bad performance, as long as you can back it with a reason as to why. And also, don't get personal. That's the sad thing. You can say, Naby Sarr's had a bad game, and I think he's a crap centre half because he's given the ball away 19. But then to go on and call him whatever, that's not fair.
As soon as you're chucking the C word out there, as soon as you're chucking them word, Ian
Wright, that guy, Ian Wright, he didn't even get sent down. He just let out a call. Would he get a fine or something? Brilliant. That's isn't it? It's the embarrassing side, isn't it? These companies.
That's the point I was going to make. I think kind of Matt's exactly right to say you need ID and verified people behind these accounts, but we also need stronger punishment for those people who are caught doing it, and kind of some people need to be made examples of. And I appreciate the majority of the times, maybe being quite stereotypical here, these are young kids who perhaps don't know right from wrong, but they should. Sorry, but it's tough. But kind of Ian Wright said he was disappointed that the guy who did it to him escaped criminal punishment, and I think he should. And the one you haven't mentioned, by the way, is obviously Mike Dean, who, bless him, didn't make a wrong decision sending kind of West Ham right off, didn't he? But
Stockley Park as well, yeah.
but he's received death threats from that.
You get death threats. You know what I mean?
It's a bit much.
It's horrendous. What's he going on? Where's he getting these death threats? You know what I mean? It's like me saying to you now, I'll give you a death threat. I mean, surely they can find the people who have a death threat. If it's a credible thing, you know what I mean? Surely they can find these people and they know where they are, because I don't know how many people who chuck those sorts of allegations out are that clever that they're going to be able to hide themselves on their computers and things like that. I don't know. We all know how to delete our history, you know what I mean? But you can't delete everything.
It never happened in cricket though, that Sue check, like an LBW, it goes to the, kind of the third official, and they'd be like, yeah, you've got to reverse the decision. I couldn't believe that he stood by it. It was ridiculous. It made him look.
Cricket's not really a sport though, because you know what I mean. So don't really,
guys, we need to move, just preview the Wycombe game. So, right, here we go. Last time we played Wycombe home, August 2011, Pos, we won 3-0. We went 30 games unbeaten, so that might give you a clue to the season. I want to know who were our scorers on that day, Pos. Huddersfield 3, Wycombe 0, August 2011. A lot younger, sun shining. We could go to matches.
Presumably, obviously 30 games will be probably Lee Clark season. So I'm just going to guess Jordan Rose because he scored every time, and probably Lee Novak.
No,
wrong season. Season.
Warm though, mate. Well, that season. Si, who got us goals? Alan Lee. Give up. Gary Roberts won.
Jesus.
And if we're going to go back memory lane, Wycombe, I remember beating them, I think we were on Sky 7-0. Michael Dewberry, when he were like 50 years old, he had one of the worst games you've ever seen when we had Pilkett and Rhodes and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is we do well against Wycombe at home, but this
first game at Stadium, because we're Wycombe, if I remember rightly. We lost 1-0.
Lost. Simon Garner.
Hang on a minute, I've got a ticket on my wall here. Let's have a look. We lost 1-0 to Wycombe, first game at New Stadium.
It's just a win at all cost game. It ain't going to be pretty, is it? They've got 16 points then. I think they're bottom of the form table now. We're second bottom. So anyone tuning in on Saturday ain't going to be getting a thriller. But honestly, if it comes off Naby Sarr's bum and goes in for 1-0 after 90 minutes, we'll have that.
As long as it's for town, yeah.
I fancy this because I think we'll scrape a 1-0 win. I think the tide's got to turn at some point.
It is going to turn. It does.
And I think Wycombe are that poor and that kind of below everyone else in the league that I think kind of we'll kind of find
you don't always get what you deserve in football, and you can work as hard as you want. You know what I mean? But it does turn, and we've all been there before. And going, where's the next point coming from? Where's the next clean sheet? Where's the next goal? When I've stood between the sticks and thinking, oh my God, just please don't kick the ball at me today because I'm having an absolute stinker. But you know what I mean? It comes off your nose, it hits you in the nuts, it go in the back of the net. Yeah. And you scrape that win, and then suddenly the whole world seems out of place. I've talked about it many a time. The training ground, when you're getting beat all the time, is like having a proper job. It is a nightmare. You know what I mean? It's not like the footballing life everyone thinks. When you're winning games, everyone's bouncing in. You know what I mean? You play a bit of pool, you're having a laugh. Training's great. No one wants to go home. When you're on this kind of run, everyone's in. You know what I mean? Bang on time. Everyone goes home as soon as you can. Nobody really wants to have a laugh because if the manager sees you having a laugh, it's like, well, do you not fucking care? That kind of stuff. So you know what I mean? The players are going to want this as much as anyone, but they're going to be nervous. They're going to be nervous because this game is massive. This is a massive game.
And also have such a big game, like just after halfway of the season. Isn't it? Normally these come with like 5 to go, but as I said, if you win and you move up to, did you say 12th side? It suddenly looks a little bit different. But lose and you're looking at being maybe 3 points off a drop, and it's
we were 11.
The traditional 6-pointer has never been more true, has it?
And the fact of how shite they are as well. That's what it is.
Yeah.
If it was Sheffield Wednesday, the pressure's on massively. Yes, it is because they're down there with you. But Sheffield Wednesday are picking up, and they're a big club and everything else. Wycombe aren't great, so it puts and they're at home, so it puts even more pressure on. But that's what you've got to handle. If you want to be a footballer, you've got to handle the pressure. You've got to take it and get on with it.
Yeah, it's a huge game. Bit of an interesting one. David Wagner applied for the Bournemouth job. Everyone said, "What seems a strange one, that, doesn't it?" I mean, he's got to deliver promotion straight away, and there's no like bedding in or project as he had at Schalke and Huddersfield. I'm surprised at that, but I mean, I think our old friend John Terry might be favourite there. Were you surprised to see that?
Yes and no, really. He's got to get another job at some point, hasn't he? He hasn't worked for him in Germany. He's probably got good memories of his time in England as kind of much it'll pay me to see him managing another team. If it's not Bournemouth, I imagine it'll be someone else. But I think you're right, because I think Terry's been linked with it quite a bit. So has Lampard, and you can even see Woodgate, if he goes on a good run, potentially keeping the job as well. So
it'd be interesting now if Wagner played, if he went to Bournemouth, that squad they've got. You know what I mean? Because it was very build up, slow. And that's not the kind of squad they've got at Bournemouth, is it? Well, regardless of Billy, and we'll take him.
I'd be surprised if they get him in, Matt. I'd be surprised if they went for him. Would you? Yeah. I just think where they're at, they need some. I mean, like Harry Redknapp, I said that. I said, I bet he'll go there just as, and he has gone as a consultant. But it wouldn't surprise me if that kind of double act just powered them onto promotion. You know. But
where do you think he go next?
You what, mate?
He doesn't go to Bournemouth. Where does he go next?
I think his stock's still high in English football. And Germany, to be fair, Schalke had a shit show, mate. They're relegated. But I just think I give him a pre-season and a stuff to build rather than a...
What size club? Sheffield Wednesday, something like
that? Derby can't... Well, Rooney's there, not in here really, and that as well. But yeah, maybe a Wednesday, mate. Maybe a Wednesday, but obviously...
He's got to stay out of England for me, because if he appears in that away dugout, man, it'd be like seeing your ex-bird with another bloke in bed, wouldn't it? It'd be awful. Couldn't imagine it, man. Terrible. Keep in Germany, Dave. Stay away.
And another town manager.
If to Matt's point, if we go 3 games without winning, there might be a job available quite close to home.
His comments weren't working on YouTube, but they've just mysteriously come on. Just do the opposite to the Millwall game. Club only have themselves to blame, dragging themselves into the mix. No league winning in February is so unacceptable. And another town manager coming back into a job, Mr. Simon Grayson.
Yeah.
Got Fleetwood Town. That's quite a good job, that, because I think they were expected to hit the top 6, but they don't. These managers, Matt, they never see it go away. They always seem to get in somewhere.
They always do, yeah. Because you know what I mean. You've got a sort of safe pair of hands type scenario, and you know what I mean. Most of these fellas are, they're great fellas as well. I mean, Simon Grayson, I've spoken to him a few times at games and stuff. I mean, what a nice fella, knows his football, loves his football, and he'll sell it to a chairman. There's a few shysters, you can go around and they soon get whittled out of the game, you know what I mean? I won't name one of my least favourite managers of all time. But these fellas, fans like them as well, because they'll come in, they'll talk the talk, and usually they get a bit of a bounce as well for a little while. Then it just turns a bit shit after 2 years. They move on and they go on to the next club. So I'm not surprised Simon Grayson is still in football. It's like who's popped up at Cardiff lately. You know what I mean? It's like, bloody hell, he's come out from Cyprus. And come on, you have to remind me. Mine's just gone now. Bloody hell.
Mick McCarthy.
Huh?
Big Mick.
Mick McCarthy, yeah. Mick McCarthy, he's up there. Another job. It's like, bloody hell, I never saw that coming. You know what I mean? So Wagner might go into Bournemouth, because that'll be something we won't see coming either.
It's not just the Wycombe game as well. We're back in action next Tuesday, where we'll be having the game. Middlesbrough, their own form's appalling. It was a weird game on Saturday. I watched a bit of that where they were took leading against Brentford, who were a flying 19 unbeaten. But tell you what, that looking at that top of division, there's people have said, "Oh, this division's not like poor division," but there's some quality teams: Swansea, Norwich, Brentford. It'll be interesting who kind of makes it. He was saying today, and no one's denying. Apparently, Andre Ayew's on £80,000 a week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, you won't believe some of it flying around. But just going back to like these clubs that have got this sort of money, I think it was a couple of days after the transfer window shut. Nobody was declaring how much they'd spent. There was not a penny registered, I think, with the FA of the Championship spending any money. You know what I mean? I think there's a couple of million flown in there now. So people haven't spent much, but some of these clubs are paying big money. Like, I mean, your Norwiches and like even your Swanseas and stuff like that. Yeah, they blow Huddersfield away even when they're in the Premier League.
It's interesting. Again, just reading like Swindon. I think they were saying on the brink, which the mate filled in and said that all these clubs are going to go, and amazingly they had that loan, didn't they, from the government, but I think Swindon have struggled to pay the wage the last 2 and stuff. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think as soon as we get back in the grounds, the better. And they'll
have to clean it, as I said. They'll have to give it a good bleeding spring clean. My God, I wish I'd not worn my new trainers.
Well, you'll be there on Saturday, Matt, and let's hope we can have something to smile about, because the natives are restless now. I dread to think what would happen if we get turned over on Saturday. But I agree with you, Si. I think we'll win on Saturday. I don't think it'd be pretty.
Clean sheet as well. I'm going for a clean sheet. Clean sheet. Yeah. Clean sheet will make it a big day. A big day as well. And you know what I mean? They're honest players as well. It's like we're talking about Nabizar and that, but you know what I mean? He does try and he works hard and he puts his head, You know what I mean? Where it hurts and stuff like that. It's just he does some shitey things. So for them, for that back five, well, even though Toffolo's not going to be playing, I'd love them just to get a clean sheet, a win, and you know, they can reset a little bit.
Yeah, and we could go to Porritt and easily win on Tuesday.
Easily. Yeah. If you get back on this run again, you get 3 or 4 or 5 games in a run of a decent run again, and then the next podcast you'll be talking about later. Oh, we've only got a couple of points. We'll be in this one.
That's for the playoffs here.
Life as a town fan, that Matty. 1 week you're getting relegated, next week you get.
Snake's belly, next night okay.
Jose, I'll leave you with the final words tonight. But how are we going to get on these next 2 games, mate? Come on, let's have your opinion here.
Well, I think I said last week if we took 4 points from Luton and Wickham, I'd be happy. So yeah, if we can pick up a win, it puts us in good stead. Maybe nick some up at Borough and get then takes you on to Swansea at home. So next 4 games are massive. I think it'll be tough. I think as we've said, it'll be a scrappy game. Looking at the game that we played down at Wickham, but yeah, I think we'll probably just run out winners. 2-1, I'm saying. Cheers.
Guys, that's it. Thanks. Sorry about us comments not working. A few of them have popped up later on and that as well. But yeah, no, Matt, thanks very much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Cheers, Matt.
Back,
absolutely nothing else to do, so no problem.
See you next week, Matt.
We want you to commentaries from away from home, and we want you to have a haircut as well. That's 2 reasons we want you to get back, man.
You know what I mean?
Get to the back seat. Boris, are you watching? Give him the jab.
Just to let you know, nobody is allowed to have an haircut as moment in time. Phil Foden has a fresh cut, everything. I was on with the Hairdressing Federation the other day. No one's supposed to get their haircut. It's scandalous,
do you know, Matt? Man City have their own hairdresser as part of the backroom team, so that's how we get away with it.
Not allowed to do it. Not supposed to be doing it. I know, it's crazy.
What's happening though? I'm in wrong.
It's all right for you, Kosi. You're fine, mate.
Yeah, lad. Egghead is signing off. Thanks for watching.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.